Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane, and I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library, and I'm thrilled to be here for this book birthday with Jeaniene Frost and Ilona and Gordon Andrews. And we'll be talking lots and lots about their books for the next hour. But before we get to that, I just want to say a quick thank you to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library who support all of our programming, and to Ilona and Gordon, who keep doing these programs with me, and Jeaniene, who came last time too, and we had such a good time. So I know that you're going to have a ball. I always do. So I think you know Jeaniene and Ilona and Gordon. Jeaniene is a best-selling author whose book birthday of Both Feet in the Grave just came out on the 18th, this last week, and it's fantastic. It's Bones' perspective on the Cat and Bones series. And Ilona and Gordon, of course, have written the Kate Daniels series, of which we're going to be talking a bit about Magic Tides, and also the Innkeeper Chronicles, as well as the Hidden Legacy series, and lots of other things. So we just love talking to you because I think you guys both all of you have such a great perspective on writing and keeping it fresh and all of that. And this is an interesting topic about perspective and point of view, because Jeaniene, you've written now Bones' perspective in 2 books. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny because when I first started the Night Huntress series, I had a couple, which is written exclusively in my heroine's point of view. I had people say, would you ever redo it or rewrite it in Bones' point of view? And I said, no, because I don't hear him in my head the way I hear my heroine. And again, I don't mean audible voices or anything that should make anyone call 911 on me. It's just, you can kind of in your mind hear your characters. But it was late October or late 2019. I was, for some reason, rereading Halfway to the Grave, probably to check a research point, because if I forget something, I go back and reread my own books to see like what was the eye color of a side character or something. And I just started writing out chapter 1 for fun, and in Bones' point of view. And then I posted it on my blog the next day because I thought, oh, this was a little neat. And, a couple people will enjoy this. And I got just an overwhelming response of, oh, come on, do another chapter. And I thought, well, let's see if I can. So I did another chapter and posted it on my blog. And 30 chapters later, I knew that I wanted to do the entire book. So it happened completely by accident. And it was reader response to it that made me decide to keep going, because I honestly at first didn't think anyone would really be interested, since the series has been over for a while now.
Well, we'll read anything you write, so that is puts that to paid. So Ilona and Gordon, I know you're doing some exciting work too on perspective right now.
Are we? I don't know. I mean, we are in the revisiting of the Kate Daniels series, now set in Wilmington. We kind of split the first Magic Tides into 2, like part of it, because they are separated for I was just talking to you about almost the entirety of the novella. So part of it is Kate doing her thing, and then the other part is Curran and Conlon doing their thing. It just seemed to work out to show them, because they're not going to be together for it. So it needed to be 2, like the reader needed to see what Kate was doing, obviously, and then what, Curran and Son were up to. Almost dealing with the consequences of what Kate was doing.
Yeah, it's kind of 2 parts of the same story. And we continue that in Magic Claims. I mean, they're together all the time, but we have several scenes from like Kern's point of view, where you can see sort of the fights and what he's thinking and where his head is at. We really enjoyed it. It seemed to work really well for the novellas that we're working on. Novellas.
Yeah, less of it in this one because they're together for it. So we had to figure out where that would be appropriate in the same book.
Yep.
I guess. Yeah.
And Jeaniene, you said that you didn't hear Bones's voice in your head. I was thinking that's great when you were writing the original series. So that's why you didn't write maybe second or third person. Was that the same for you too, Ilona and Gordon, that you didn't hear Kern's voice or the different perspective when you were writing writing it first?
We don't usually kind of describe it in the same ways. It's not that we don't hear the voice. We're just it's just when we were writing Kate Daniels, it was we were writing it for a traditional publisher. And what we have learned from working with Ace is that the traditional publishers really don't like to deviate from an established format in a series. So, for example, the level of heat has to be the same through the series. The POV kind of has to be the same through the series. You can even see it in our cover treatment. Our covers are always were like the girl is sword in a lion. They never tried to anything new or different. They kind of just uniformity was a big thing. And so because of that, we've never, attempted to formalize kind of the current POVs. Gordon's been writing them for years. I think it was maybe around second or third book when the readers started requesting them. And so he's been there. They were hugely popular, and we just had them as freebies on our site forever and ever. And so it was never really a push to kind of include them in the novels. And I believe if we tried, we probably would have been pulled back from that because it would deviate from the format that we established.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, I have heard Kerns' voice in my head the way, Jeaniene might hear Kat's voice. And it's because we collaborate to write the stuff that Kate would hear Kerns say. I need to think of in my head, like, how would he react to that? What would be his response to that?
How would he say it?
Like she needs to like kind of hear Kate, and I kind of need to, and as his role in the books to increase, like he's not that much even in the first one really, or second one. Like I needed to think about thoughts that he has in his head, like why does he say things? Why does they say these things to her?
Yeah, and because we're writing together, we always kind of had the thing where like he does dialogue for Kern and I do dialogue for Kate. So it was very natural to do two POVs. It wasn't an imposition, or we didn't have to adjust in any way. It's just that it kind of didn't work that way with the traditional publisher. And also Kate's series is our very first work. We were very ignorant. We didn't know a lot of things. We were very, very green in terms of like professionalism. And so like we didn't even do the editing correctly, we cut too much, and it just was like if I could like wave a magic wand and make the first 3 or 4 books disappear and then rewrite them magically, I would totally do it. But it was just, if we were doing it now, we would have written them differently, would have definitely included more split POVs things in it. But it so happens that now we have a chance to revisit the series, and we're super happy doing it.
Yeah, that wasn't our call, though.
Yeah, it wasn't our call.
Interesting. So, when you're writing the characters from the first person perspective, Jeaniene, let's start with you. When you're creating that character, and you're putting in their personality and their thoughts and their feelings and all of that stuff, do you actually think about what the other character is doing and thinking, even though you're not going to talk in their perspective?
Sure. Because, you have, especially, of course, when the two characters are on the page together, I heard Bones's dialogue again in my head as I was mentally thinking about the scenes with them together. So, it's usually in your brain before it hits the page. So I knew that, and I knew that he loved her right off, and she didn't know that until halfway through the book. And there were a lot of things I knew, but being in Kat's head while writing the story, it was, you try and think about, you try and dig as deep into the character as you can get. And at the same time, as with anything else, you probably only put 25% of what you know on the page, if that, because otherwise the story would just have just too much minutia and details, and you want it to have, a plot and get to where it's going. So it was great to be able to dig deep into Bones that way when I started writing his point of view of it, because when I started it, I thought, well, I already know everything there is to know about Bones. And I did get to show some stuff that I had always known, but I hadn't gotten a chance to put it on the page yet. But there was also a lot of things that did surprise me while writing his point of view. So, when you kind of switch those gears and put all your time and attention into another character, I think you do learn more. You still can be surprised, even so many books later.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that too, Ilona and Gordon, that you were surprised by the different perspective as you were writing it?
No, not for
Not
me, not as
really,
much.
yeah. I mean, we kind of had a very good handle on both of them. And again, because our process is a little bit different because there's two of us, we kind of figured out how, I guess there was some growing up between book 10 of Kate Daniels series and the first Wilmington novella in terms of like the characters, they're together, their parents, their basically life is different, their needs are different. And in essence, that did reflect a little bit of, our personal growth, because the first book came out 16 years ago. It is literally old enough to drive. Yeah, it's sad. We're old. And so, because of that, as we progress through the series, the characters did some growing up, but, not as much growing up as we did at this time, because in the book terms, I think it was like 5 or 6 years past. In, regular life terms, it was more like 10 to 11 years that had passed, so it was very fun to be, it felt more natural to have them slightly older, you know what I mean? And have them as parents and have them, because that's where we were at the stage of our life, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't so much a sense of surprise as a sense of ease. If you really look at it, right? So Magic Claims is going to be 65,000 words long. We primarily wrote it in about the space of maybe 2 months, which is very, very fast. Typically a novel takes us, unless it's Ruby Fever, which we will not mention, the novel takes us about 6 to 8 months, right? And this basically, it's more than 2/3 of the normal novel written in 2-month period. It's just because it was easy.
I also think it surprises us less because there's two of us, like, we discuss it all the time, like driving, doing mundane things. We discuss all different aspects of the books. We have each other as kind of sounding boards, where if Jeaniene did it, she'd just be a crazy person. Talking to herself or the cats. Where we can actually.
She doesn't have cats.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We
You
can
only have
verbalize
dogs.
with each other. Like we talk out a lot of stuff about the book, stuff that probably doesn't even ever show up on the page, that we can just, talk about.
And yet, even though we talk about everything and think about everything, we had managed to write a major plot hole.
Oh yeah,
In the latest draft, which we at some point,
Oh,
I
so
turned to him and I
scary.
said, "Hey, how is this happening?" And he's like, "I don't know." So we are fixing it, but yeah, it's the process, I guess, is a little bit different because there's two of us and we don't have a cute husky to keep us company like Jeaniene.
Well, but you know what? I mean, you could line up 10 authors in a chat and they might have 10 different processes and they all work for them, because writing is not one size fits all. And so, yeah, you do have different ways of doing things, but I beg to differ. I do talk to myself and will work it out and it's argue with myself and sometimes call myself names. And yeah, thank God I'll do this while walking the dogs. And people think, now everyone assumes you've got the little earpieces in and you're on a telephone call. And yeah, no, it's just me plot shopping things out loud while walking my dogs or whatever. So yeah, I probably do look a little loony.
And by the way, people are totally online shopping right now, both for the t-shirt and the mug that says buffering on it. So kudos to you, all those people looking for it. So you mentioned, Ilona, earlier about finding a plot hole years later. And then so Sivi would like to know from both of you, when you did that, when you went back and you did the second perspective or other perspective, did you have to fill plot holes at all? Jeaniene?
Oh, did I have to fill? Yes, actually. When I was rewriting the first Bones point of view novel, and it was the climactic fight scene. I'll just give one example. I found a few plot holes, but I'll just give this one. The climatic fight scene, it starts out where he is in chains. And I say he's got 2 big cuffs, like metal cuffs around his wrist and long lengths of chains. And then at the end of the fight scene, he runs off to chase after one of the bad guys, and there are no chains. And I'm like, how the did I miss that? Like, how did all these books later? So then I had to write a scene explaining how he got the chains off. And it actually worked out for something that was another minor plot hole. Well, actually kind of not minor as well, because at one point in that same climactic scene, the heroine is pinned between a car and a wall by the villain, and he's about to rip her throat out. And she fights him off herself. And when rereading it to write it from Bones' point of view, I thought, where the hell is Bones? He wouldn't have been sitting back just watching that thinking, best of luck, baby. You know, so I actually tied in the cuff scene and how he got that off, and another thing happening to explain why Bones, just for some reason, decided to let her handle that herself, and how he magically lost, you know, metal wrist restraints. So that was a fairly decent plot hole that I hadn't caught. I'm sure some savvy reader caught it and, you know, maybe just didn't mention it in a review, but yeah, so now it looks like, oh, this was this new thing she knew all along. That one I did not know all along. I read it and just went, duh. So yeah.
Which is funny because you said you do reread your books on occasion just for, you know,
Yeah.
So I think maybe we all had a shared delusion and didn't see that one.
I'm just glad. I'm really, really glad. Now you know.
So for people that are here listening in, please put your questions in the Q&A because they're easier for me to keep a track of. When they're in the chat, they just go by very quickly. So Ilona, Gordon, do you want to talk about that plot hole that you found?
No.
No.
Okay.
The biggest one I can ever remember is in the first book. Like he blames her for something that he knows isn't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We get called out on this all the time.
And my
So
answer is like, well, he was just being a dick.
yeah. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, again, this goes under us not knowing what we were doing. The book was very long. It was 124 to 1,000 words, and I remember that exactly. And they said, hey, you need to cut it to between 19,000 to meet the price point that we're hoping to publish it under. We don't care what you cut, but, you know, cut something. And we were, you know, later on, you read the advice, and the advice is very helpful, actually. It says, if you need to cut, right, if you need to cut a big thing, you either take out an entire subplot, which is the easiest thing to do, or if you're cutting, you know, the actual narrative, try to cut action and description rather than emotion. You know, we didn't. We cut the emotion right out. But basically, we cut the part that explains the emotional reaction Kern has. And so it just kind of comes out of nowhere in the book. And we tried to fix it when they did collector edition. And they're not basically, they wouldn't let us significantly rewrite it. And it has followed us ever since. Like I said, if I could wave the magic wand.
None of us, it's very rare that any author, even some successful authors, get to go back and fix that stuff or rewrite that stuff.
Yeah.
I know of a few who have, but like, that's just going to be there. That's it. That's just always
Even
going to be.
Yeah, even when we can't. So right now, okay, like I said, the books are old. There's some words in there that shouldn't be used anymore.
Yep.
And at the time, you know, they were colloquial. They passed us. They passed the entire team of people that edited books. Nobody thought there was a problem with any of that, you know. And now, of course, we want to make sure to fix all of those things because they're minor things. And it's better to, you know, take into account the feelings of people that might be hurt by it, right? And I have to tell you, this has been just the most stress-inducing process because, like, we do the edits, they apply the edits don't take, Amazon reverses the edits, and then you're like, for gosh sake, just please put that in there. So it's you can to some extent go and retroactively edit the books, but mostly you can't. It doesn't work. You gotta let it go. Yeah.
I mean, you personally.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go.
Yeah. I got it. It has been an incredibly stress-inducing angst point because I really don't want to cause anybody discomfort of any sort. And so, yeah, I personally have gotten to the point where, if it ever comes out, I'll just apologize and beg
There you go.
forgiveness, and that's it. Because yes, I just like literally editing stuff once it's published is almost impossible.
Yep.
So somebody in the chat did notice, Gordon, that you are moving away from the mic a little bit. When you talk, inching away. So when you talk, just move in a little bit. So people do want to know, are you going to be now in the future writing books in the third person now that you've done both? Do you think that's going to happen for you, Jeaniene?
Well, I read a couple books in third person before this one. First Drop of Crimson, which was a spin-off novel, one of the few standalones I've written, was in split point of view, third person, as was Eternal Kiss of Darkness. And I've written some novellas in split point of view, third person as well. It's not what I naturally gravitate toward. The majority of my novels and all of my series have been written in first person heroine perspective. And that is, I guess, my default of what I feel most comfortable with when I write. So I will probably do third person again at some point, but I don't think I'll ever fully switch over, because when I think of a story, usually, especially a new story, I think of it in terms of the heroine saying I, me, not she, he, where it's from like an overall narrator. So that's just how the stories come to me.
People are totally waiting for Gordon to give us a spoiler, but we're going to wait a little bit on that one.
He'll do it.
I do have a question that might be. But so Ilona and Gordon, are you going to be writing more in third person, do you think, in the future?
Yes and no. So the Hugh Dambray books are very popular, and that one is in the third person. It works better. It's a split point of view. Some books are just kind of feel better in the third person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that I would be able to like give like smart writerly reason for it. It just feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we'll actually twist it and try it in the first person and then the third person and see which one feels better.
Mm-hmm.
We've done, I believe, like the Fated Blades, the Kinsman, all the Kinsman series, I think, is in the third person. Most of the Edge, I believe, is in the third person.
Yeah.
The Innkeeper is in the first person.
Innkeeper's first person, Hidden Legacy is first person.
Yeah.
Books are first person. So we're like you, Jay, in that sense. I think she and I are both more comfortable writing. I think that's just the way our brains work, like I said, I moved,
Yeah.
I watched.
You can really dig into the character in the first
Because you get
person,
the inner
like
thoughts,
you can
you
pull
know
them
what
apart.
They're thinking, which I like that. I read a series of books one time where the whole thing was a perspective, I guess, first person of the person. And then in one of the later novels, it switched. And they also switched POVs. And it was, for me as a reader, very jarring. And I didn't like it. Back. So
it just depends. I think it depends on the story. It depends, like if you're building something that's like complicated and has a lot of moving parts, multiple POVs, like epic fantasy style, it's almost impossible to do the first person for all of them, because you might differentiate the first couple, but then eventually it's gonna get finished. But yeah, as far as another thing that we're kind of forgetting is, again, when we started out, we were somewhat writing to the market without trying to, because at the time there was this explosion of urban fantasy and paranormal romance, and a lot of it was based on the PI kind of genre of like, especially female PI, and so I think naturally a lot of us went to that first person POV, because that's what the PI novels were mostly, using. So to that, because there's like a whole bunch of different novels that you can look from the period that are using that first person. So to some regard, we're trained in the first person after all these years. It may be easier. I don't know.
Well, I'll just ask one more question about point of view, because about half of the questions in the Q&A, Jeaniene, are you going to write more Bones's point of view?
Maybe. I love writing it, and you know, it's honestly, it's been like a gift to myself to write it. I've enjoyed it so much, but at the same time, I also want to write some new stuff. And since I'm not a very fast writer, I can't, and I'm not the type of writer that can work on 2 projects at the same time. My brain is not that big. It'll just error 404 and that's it. So I want to, you know, switch and write something new, and then we'll see, you know. So that's the answer. Maybe. It's not a no, it's not a yes, it's a maybe.
And for you all that are listening, I begged her for book 3 because I need to see what was happening for Bones when he got stabbed, but not. For you guys who read it, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's move on a little bit to some of the other questions that we've gotten. And most of a couple are about the graphic audios. Are more of your books coming out in graphic audio? I'll start with Ilona and Gordon, because I know you've had a couple.
Yes, actually, they bought the entire kids series, so all of it is coming. Yeah, the first one is just out. I have a funny story for you about the Kerns Voice. So, you know, we've got the first guy, you know, the first actor that was suggested, and the person, the liaison that works with us with graphic audio was like, well, you know, he's often plays werewolves, and he had a really good werewolf voice, but Kern isn't a werewolf, he's a were-lion. We're like, look, you know, he's all kind of like snarly and husky, but you know, this guy needs to roar. So then, you know, we go through like actor 2 sample, actor 3 sample, and then our poor long suffering liaison basically sends us this, and she says, look, this guy is kind of, you know, he's super talented and his voice is amazing, but he's considered, you know, this voice is considered kind of niche, and we usually use them for like, you know, like strong barbarian types or like strong Scottish dwarves. I was like, okay. She's like, just, you know, keep an open mind. And he was perfect. He was absolutely perfect. It was clearly were-cat. He could roar, he could purr, which was ridiculous, you know. So we were super, super happy to be able to like, you know, get him as an actor for Kern. That was just cherry on top of the cake. And for those of you who are wondering about the Innkeeper, I am going to like commit a major faux pas and say, yes, they offered for the next one, we accepted, but you know, this is the point where the contracts are being signed. So I can't officially announce it. But yes, the Sweep of the Heart will be produced by Graphic Audio, hopefully sometime within the next year or 2. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah, we did reject probably a lot of current voice actors, because for us, we realized we're never going to make everybody happy. Like everybody hears character different in their head. So what we try to do is get the one that and it's kind of selfish, but that she and I feel like best represents that person. Like we realize not everybody's going to be happy all the time. Well, because nobody can be what everybody hears in their head. So we just pick who we really like, and we hope the readers.
And this character in particular, like, so much about it is the voice, the lion roar, like those big deals made that when he roars in the middle of battles, and there's a lot of battles, you can hear him like in every corner of the battlefield.
What, Niall?
So I'm so sorry if you guys hear weird noises. Our roof is being worked on. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
So we were super, super happy. So that's our audio news. We're gonna turn it over to Miss Jeaniene.
Oh, before you do, somebody asked in the chat, where can we find your graphic audios?
You can find it if you Google graphic audio, you can find them there. Also, they're available on audio. In audio on Audible. I believe they might be available on Amazon. I'm not sure. Like probably like
has its own site.
Yeah, they have their own site.
Yeah.
I usually listen on them in my app. I have an app on my phone.
Does this
And-
sound,
Hold on.
somebody just put in the chat, graphicaudiointernational.net. Does that work?
Hold on a second.
That seems right, but I don't.
Yeah,
know.
okay. So
Can you see it?
I probably can't see it.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
the
fine.
black and yellow one is the graphic audio app,
Mm.
you know, and I like it because I get discounts.
Yeah.
But let me see. I will pull up while Jeaniene is answering questions, I
Yeah.
will find the graphic audio and paste it
Yeah.
in.
You actually, I was just typing it on Amazon, Magic Bites graphic audio, to see if it pops up, and it does. So if you like it through, audible.com, you can get it that way, or yeah, the site graphic audio, like Ilona said, they release all the stuff first on the graphic audio site, and then they release it wide to other retailers after what, like 4 to 6 weeks or something. I can't remember what. But yeah, you can also just Google or go on Amazon and type Magic Bites graphic audio. And wasn't it up for an award? Wasn't it a finalist for an award?
Yes.
Possibly.
So
Yes, you should be happy about that. I was happy about that.
that was a funny exchange to where they're like, hey, you won the Oddies. And we're like, oh my goodness, because it's like the audio Oscars, right? Like graphic audio won the Oddies, the for clean sweep. This is amazing. And we're super, super happy. And they were like, we're sending you the medal. And then I was like, oh,
No.
no, we don't want the medal. Let the graphic audio
Wait,
basically.
you actually won and you didn't say anything?
No, yes. I think we're like award nominate. I don't remember, but
It's
anyway.
an honor just to be nominated.
Anyway,
too.
we got they tried to send us the medal. We tried to give them back the medal and say, hey, the graphic audio team that actually recorded it should have the medal. And then it was very carefully explained to me, the dummy, that actually everybody gets a medal and that's okay.
Oh.
So yeah,
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 well, congrats.
they made extras. So yes, so we actually I have it somewhere. I'm sorry, I probably won't be able to find it now, but yes, they did it. It was amazing. We were super stoked. Like, and
I'm a huge fan.
yeah,
I think it's
graphic audio is an amazing team. Okay, you talk now. That's it.
What am I supposed to talk about? Okay.
Oh, are your books coming out in graphic audio?
Oh, yes. The Night Huntress series has the first 3 books out in graphic audio. And if you're not familiar, graphic audio is like listening to a movie of the book. Each character has a different voice actor and they have sound effects and, dramatic music in the background. So it's like a movie version of the book that you listen to instead of watch. So it's really fun. And all of them have samples. So you can see if it's something you like, before you want to buy it. And yeah, I love it because I think halfway to the grave, the sample they picked is where Bones is interrogating a vampire that Kat just set up. And Bones has got a stake in the vampire's throat. And you can hear these gurgling noises and stuff. And I think it's so bloodthirsty and so hilarious. But that's me. I have a dark sense of humor. But yeah, they're such fun, different editions for, the stories. So yeah, books 1 through 4, I think they're doing 5 too. And actually you're reminding me to check with my agent if they're doing more of them. I'm not 100% sure.
You got the gurgling, right? We had it worse for the Innkeeper series. There's a book where they literally buy like a toy fart gun. And so
that is not the sample they chose to highlight.
Well, here's the thing, right?
It's in there.
It's in there. I was kind of embarrassed for this book to basically, be adopted because I'm like, okay, what are they going to do with the fart noises, right? And it was Nora actually, who is the lead on the project, right? And she's like, when we're discussing things, pronunciations and things, she's like, yes, and the fart gun. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to have to put you. And she's like, we live for this. You don't understand. This is the greatest thing ever. And yes, there are fart noises all through that. Like they went to town with it.
As there should
Oh,
be.
that's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah, the clip that they do for At Grave's End was the scene at Chuck E. Cheese where Kat and her team go to Chuck E. Cheese. They suspect a vampire's there and a vampire's in a Chuck E. Cheese costume. And she ends up stabbing the vampire to death in front of the children who are screaming, leave Chucky alone. And as a side note, I wrote that scene. I have 6 nieces and nephews. after going to Chuck E. Cheese for the 100th effing time, you know, and listening to the songs and all that, and paying for the overpriced pizza and just getting a pounding headache. And so so that scene was cathartic for me to write. And I thought it was hilarious that that's the teaser scene Graphic Audio chose for their sample of that book.
When we were living in Lawton, Oklahoma, we at one time wanted to take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese. They were much younger now, right? Back then. Now they're in their 20s. But anyway, you know, I called there and the number was defunct, and I was like, what the heck? And so basically I asked somebody, another army wife, about it, and she's like, oh, honey, they closed that place down. I was like, why? And like, somebody got stabbed in there.
Oh, okay. There were no real stabbings in my, okay, let me just say, all the stabbings at Chuck E. Cheese's were completely fictional and not inspired by actual events.
Not in Oklahoma.
Not in Oklahoma, apparently. So just own up.
No.
Wow. Well, you have had some influence on the Chuck E. Cheeses of the world, that's for sure.
No, oh gosh, no. It was a vampire. He was very bad.
I love that scene, by the way, because my kids were going to Chuck E. Cheese around the time I was reading that. So I do have a question about your fandom, Jeaniene. If Ilona and Gordon's fans are called BDH, what is your fandom called?
They don't have an official name, and I would never presume to give them one. I have seen some of them call themselves Frosties, you know, as a play on my last name of Frost. But I mean, like I said, they can call themselves whatever they want. I don't get involved. I'm just happy they're there.
Okay. Well, that was, you know, I think I'll think on that. Maybe we can think about it here too. What do you think we should call ourselves? Frosties?
Oh gosh.
I don't know. Ilona, Gordon, do you have any thoughts?
Well, the rule is you don't give yourself your own nickname.
Yeah.
Someone has to give you the nickname. So
Yeah.
Jay, you know, honestly, Jay, you would have to give them a name, or what another author would have to come up with to call them that, like, you know.
Frosties is established. They've known themselves as Frosties for a
Is that
while. Yes,
I didn't come up with that. They did. I did
they
not.
did. I say let the fandom call itself what it wants to call. Frosties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
People are in agreement with the Frosties. I'm good with that. So here's one that could be a spoiler for Ilona and Gordon. Where will Conan go to school when they move to Penderton Forest? Rosanna gave me permission to ask this question.
Where will he go to school?
Yeah.
I say okay. The spoilering. Okay, so
Atlanta.
no, that's not the. Basically, yeah. God. I'm gonna have.
I honestly
I
think
will
he's gonna
have a
to be
word
homeschooled.
with Modar.
Yeah.
Many
No.
words, in fact, more than one. But yeah, I'm going to say that he will go to school at the place where his new home is. There. Okay, we're going to leave it at that.
The crowds are like, let Gordon speak. They think he's gonna wreck everything. He's gonna tell everyone.
He's under straight spoiler embargo.
Coley, North Carolina.
Okay.
In Jackson County, North Carolina.
Okay, no, that's where we're from.
Look up Coley. It's a real place.
Okay, you're doing the accent.
I know. I have to do the accent. That's where you're from, Ilona.
All right.
Where are you
Okay.
people from?
Not here.
There you go.
Not here. My people are far away.
Yeah.
Do you see what I have to put up with?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I do have to ask this question because I've had this question myself. This is completely separate. Of the worlds that you've created, which one would you want to live in? And why?
None of them. All my characters are constantly having someone try and kill them. So yeah, I'm not so much with the running for my life. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in any of them. Now, if I could go on a safe vacation in some of them, sure, that would be different. But live in them, no. Over to you and Gordon.
Oh,
Ah,
for me, probably Innkeeper.
yeah,
Because
safest, it's safest.
We have Costco
Yep.
and Sam's, and we already live in Texas. Because I mean, just to think about it, if you say like what world, and I answer Innkeeper, that opens up a lot of worlds, both literally and figuratively, that you could go to first. So for me, it's the comfort of the inn and our normal sort of, you know, how do you say, like normal world. But then, you know, there's also access to
Yeah,
the fantastic, the amazing,
the amazing
alien.
stuff.
Kate world, Kate's right out.
You
That's a
know,
horrible place.
Yeah, a lot of our worlds are meant as a warning in a sense, and people don't always take it that way. But like, let's take Hidden Legacy. What's a warning? What will happen if, you know, you allow a small segment of population unlimited power? Yeah, it's not a nice world to live in. It's super dangerous. Or like Kate Daniels, this is a warning. What happens if we basically, well, to be blunt, create a giant environmental disaster and our social structure collapses? And then it's the rule of the mighty, sort of whoever is the strongest gets to make the rules. Like we all like Kate because she is, you know, a nice person at the core. She's kind, she's responsible. But if she was not, you know, with her powers, you know, this could turn into complete nightmare super fast.
Look at Julie. I mean, her dad, everything was going well for Julie and her family. And then her dad died and everything kind of collapsed, and there's really no social
net to come back and lift her back up. You know, we have, you know, democracy exists for a reason. Our social programs exist for a reason. You know, we have police, we have fire department, we have a whole slew of emergency services. Whether or not, you know, they work the best, you know, is a different question, but the fact is they're there. You can call 911, somebody will be on the other line.
Kate's world is about all of that breaking down.
Yeah, it's complete collapse of everything, you know. And so I don't necessarily would want to even visit most of these places, because I mean they're written in a way to show you like, hey, isn't it nice where we live? Let's safe, and then let's do our best and do our, you know, civic duty to be good citizens. And yeah, hopefully our social order won't collapse, you know. So I yay everybody vote.
No, but I mean, even across the board, like if you look at Jeaniene's world, would you want to be an average human in that world where the people that are so much stronger than you?
A lot stronger than you. Like blood just set people on fire.
Yeah.
Like at the drop of a hat, pretty much. And it's like, okay, it, you know, we are meant as humans, I think, to experience the full range of emotions, the anger, the fear, the sadness, but, you know, the excitement, the happiness, you know, the relief. And in our daily lives, we kind of don't necessarily, you know, experience the full range, let's say. You know, we're kind of stay about if this was a graph where things were going up and down, we kind of stay in the middle. Books allow us to do that. Books allow us to just jump into a different world and, you know, experience all this range of emotions and excitement, and then we can safely, you know, close the cover or shut off your e-reader and, you know, go and get a cup of tea. That's the magic of it, isn't it? I mean, they say those who read live a, you know, 1,000 lifetimes. We really do, and I think that's amazing.
Yay.
I think it was Charlene Harris who said, here's to books, the cheapest vacation you could buy.
Yep.
And yeah, you can go anywhere in them.
So Jeaniene, I'm going to follow up on that a little bit with you because I've been doing some horror book festivals as well. And in those, like Paranormal, the terrible things happen, but there's a certain, we had a whole conversation about the comfort of it. What do you find is comforting about Paranormal, these hot, dark, you know, places where people can find love? Oh, maybe I answered my own question. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, there's, at least I can only speak for the books that I write, of course, but mine, I've promised readers, you know, if you come along for the journey, you'll get a happily ever after. So even though the things do get dark and dire and they, you know, and some of the side characters die, that sort of thing, you know, you will be okay with the main couple. They will end up together and happy. So as Ilona was saying, you can go through the full range of emotions and at the end of it know that it will be okay. Evil will not win in the end. So the great thing about paranormal is you have so much more freedom to not just create you know, obviously different type of creatures and monsters and magic and mayhem and whatnot, but you know, you can use that too, as Ilona was also saying, to shine a light and amplify what's going on today. You know, vampires can be a metaphor for any number of things. So you get to explore and experience all of that, the despair and the darkness as well, and the unfairness, but you don't have to stay in it, because by the time it's resolved, it will be in an uplifted place. So yeah, so in that regard, it is a true vacation and not living somewhere, because you do get to pull back out of the darkness. And that's the type of stuff I like to watch. That's the type of stuff I like to read. I love horror, but I hate horror where, just as a personal thing, where at the end of it, none of the characters ever had a chance and everyone's dead. And it's like, what did I just spend 2 hours on? You know, at least let one person live. Let there be a final girl or a final guy, so you know that there was, you know, one little speck of brightness at the end. And I'm just, in my writing, trying to make that speck of brightness bigger.
Love it. Because I think that, you know, a lot of us turn to romance because we know there's going to be that happy ending. Otherwise we would read more horror or, you know, whatever. I'm interested in the fact that this rise of monster romance. You know, when you all started writing, maybe vampires and werewolves were considered monsters then, but now we're talking orcs and aliens and, you know, very different characters. So it feels like there's a place for everything within this genre, and for different reasons, I guess. But we're going to be out of time in a few minutes, but people do want to know how you all met.
Wow. Thanks, Faye. It was back in, I think, 2006. There was a live journal. That's how back, yeah, that was the site that used to exist. Anyway, that was a social media site for writers, and me and 2 other authors had gotten together and just created this thing, you know, called Thanks for and Faye, to have other authors of the paranormal, fantasy, whatnot, join, and Ilona and Gordon joined. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Ilona, you and I and Gordon first started talking. It was during this hook contest that we ran, where we had aspiring writers put the hook or tagline for their book and send them in, and then agents pick the ones that they liked the best. And I was collecting all the critiques from the authors on the pages and stuff. And I remember Ilona was really witty and funny in some of the stuff that she had written. And I just started, so I was like, let me check out her book. And then I read her first book and then kind of started to stalk her.
I'm glad that you have such a lovely memory of this, you know.
Am I all the way wrong?
That's not how we started talking, but yeah, that was part of it, but that's not. Okay, here's what happened. Okay, you have to understand Jeaniene Frost. Jeaniene Frost
That's an ominous opening.
is the best friend you would ever get. And if Jeaniene thinks that something isn't fair, or you are being basically bullied or upset in any way, she will, you know, don her armor and ride out there. And so it was, our first book came out, it was Magic Bites. And there was this one person who was, you know, who did a very biased, I would want to say, review of Magic Bites.
I remember that.
Okay. She held it up as everything that was wrong with urban fantasy genre as a whole, and people who read it. And so, and I read that because it was immediately sent to me by a bunch of people who wanted me to see it, you know. because it was like the whole click thing. And so, and I was like, okay. And I left a comment that say, hey, you have some interesting points. You know, I think you should write your own book addressing those points. I would love to read it, and did a smiley face. I'm very much looking forward to you reading your work. You're awesome. Keep going. This is great critique. And Jeaniene Frost read that and emailed me. No, she didn't email. She's like, can I call you? And I said, yes. And so she called me, and here's what happened. I picked up the phone, it was her, and I was like, hey, Jeaniene. I wasn't sure how to pronounce the name, so I was like, I hope I'm saying it right. Hey, Jeaniene. And she's like, I cannot believe you. How could you be so nice? They were so mean to you, and you were so nice back. And how could this possibly be happening? So that's how we met. Now you know.
Okay, we met before that. We did meet through the hooks. That's how I knew to ask you for your phone number. And as a side note, I was not encouraging her to attack a reviewer before anyone misunderstands.
No,
that.
it wasn't that.
Yeah,
You know,
it was, and if I remember correctly, it was another author who said that.
yeah, it
wasn't it wasn't an average reviewer. It was an if I remember correctly, and I'm not going to say any names, don't worry, but it was an author in the same genre that took a big steaming public dump on your book. And it went into personal attacks in the review, if memory serves. It wasn't just a critique of the story. There were some out of line personal attacks too. So it wasn't.
And you can see she's still upset over it.
Yeah.
16 years later.
Yes. The average your readers don't like books, reviewers don't like books, whatever. You know, we know everyone, different strokes, different folks, all that sort of thing. But I will never tell who. So I see someone in the comments. But yeah, it was a really below the belt personal attack couched around a review from a fellow author, and I just thought that was a real. I'm not going to say the word because there might be children in the room, but a really mean thing. So I didn't think she should publicly attack them, but I thought she was going overboard by being publicly nice. And yeah, it's just,
No, because when that stuff happens, as an author, you have three choices. You can either basically wait in there and be like, okay, you know what, perhaps you should keep, you know, your opinion of my children, for example, out of your review. The other thing that you could do is to completely ignore it and pretend it wasn't there. And the third thing that you can do, which my preferred method, is to say, well, thank you so much for your interesting review. That's fantastic, because then you look like roses. And so, yeah.
You're wise professionally, but that person didn't deserve your kindness.
They made me look really good.
Yeah, yeah, for some reason, I thought of when you guys met personally, when Jay, you came to take her to, you stopped at our house on the way
Yeah,
to
convention.
the convention. That's when the first time.
That
I
was
met
the
her.
recalculating convention.
Yes,
wasn't
that was the first time we met in person. It was, I think, early 2007, or yeah, it was maybe spring 2007. So I don't know if either of our books were out yet, or your book maybe.
No, mine was out. Yours was about to be out. I'm pretty
Okay, so
sure.
that was, yeah.
And the most I remember from that trip is like so Jay rented a car, right? And it had one of those ancient navigation systems. And for some reason, the navigation system thought it was off the highway. Like it was convinced we were flying through the mountains of Kentucky.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it like the entire trip was spent with like recalculating, return to route. Recalculating, return to route. We finally, I think, turned it off.
And if you had not gone with me, because I'm afraid to fly, and at the time I hadn't had any doctor prescribe me Xanax to fly, so I drove everywhere. So I was driving from Florida to Oklahoma, okay, to go to a convention, and that's why I called Ilona, and I'm like, I'll be driving through Georgia. Do you want to come to this convention? You know, you can hop in the car, and so that's how we met. And yeah, she has a good sense of direction, thank God, because as she points out, the Garmin or whatever it was just lost its all bearings. I think it might have been Tennessee, and it might have been 4 straight hours. It just said recalculating or turn around or make a U-turn. And if I wouldn't have had someone else in the car, I'd still be that my rotting bones would still be in Tennessee somewhere, because I would never have found my way out where that was, because we were driving through the sticks. I mean, I don't know where we were. but we did make it there.
We made it, yeah, we made it, and it was a lovely convention. And before basically, I don't want to end this on a sour note. I will tell you right now that 99% of interactions that we've had in our, now somewhat longish career with other authors and other writers and just generally publishing professionals, reviewers, anybody that you basically usually talk to or meet, they're usually very professional and nice. And that's why whenever there is like that one person that just sort of makes it, public ass of themselves, when it happens, it really stands out, because for all, we're kind of somewhat supportive of each other, you can actually see it whenever something bad, unfortunately, happens to one member of our kind of online community. You will see the entire community just rally around them. We are the ones that have basically, both the moral support and, readers in particular will basically be very, very kind. So we don't want you to feel like we are basically unhappy, or this is some kind of mean girls club or anything like that. By far and large, we're very well supported and we're very professional and nice to each other. It's just that one thing was so weird and so like out there, but I'm very glad it happened, because otherwise Jeaniene and us, we may not have been friends, and I really like Jeaniene as my friend. So I'm actually, I have very good memories about it. When I think about that review, I smile now. So that's where I'm at.
Yes, and it's so funny because, I will forget if you wrote it. Yeah, if someone wrote a terrible review about my book, especially back then, I won't remember. But yes, you write it about my friend and I remember you.
And can I just say, Ilona, your imitation of Jeaniene, spot on.
It's really good.
Totally got the tone, everything. Amazing. So that's wonderful. I am also glad that you're such good friends. Before we go, can we just have a quick, what's up next for you, Jeaniene? I know your book just came out, but are you working on something else?
I am working on something else, and I'm not saying what it is yet because it's a completely new project. It's not another Bones point of view. It's something that I'm giving myself actually 2 months to see how far I go with it, because it's new world. And I want to see how it flows. And so far I'm enjoying it. So right now it's my own personal secret project, and I'm keeping it to myself, and if it turns into something, I'll let everyone know.
All right. Well, that we'll read anything you write. So take your time. How about you, Ilona and Gordon?
I will just say for the record, I have not seen her secret project. She won't show it to me. So don't ask. I literally do not know. I would like to be the first to know, but I may have to bribe her. But yes,
You have to tell them what we just finished.
we just finished. Well, we're in the first edit of Magic Claims, which should be able to finish it hopefully by the middle of next week. And so we are on track for the publishing date, I believe, of June 13th. So that's June
That's
13th.
my birthday. Please give me a birthday present.
So,
My goodness, I had no idea. Facebook has yet failed to inform me of your birthday. So why we all have Facebook accounts now? Nobody actually does anything on there, but hey, it's good about letting you know when birthdays are. But
Yeah, and then I think we probably have a project that we both would really like to work on.
kind of a secret passion
Unannounced,
project,
secret
unannounced.
projects.
Yeah, we need a little bit of a break because, okay, so normal novella is about 25,000 words.
Is it?
Magic Tide, was about.
Jay, you remember when this book was going to be like 25, 30 top?
That's why I laughed at her when she told me that. She's like, it's going to be 20,000 words. And I just laughed and I said, no, it's not.
Yes, okay. It was supposed to be Magic Tide. It was supposed to be 40. It is 65. That is like the Magic Tides plus a whole another novella. It's like there's no way to call it a novella. Actually, Nancy, our mutual agent, was like, Ilona, you cannot call it a novella. It would be misleading the readers. I was like, okay, fine.
Oh,
Yeah, I would. So basically, yeah, that took a lot more writing and things that, we thought about. So we are planning maybe one more Kate Wilmington novella
but
after
not
this,
straight away
but
after this.
maybe not straight away because we need a little bit of a break. This was a lot of novella. And
It's
so-
a novel. It's a novel. It's
Novel.
65K.
It was a-
It's a novel.
it's a novel. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
it is a novel.
Well, maybe you can call it a novel with 2 L's, so it's sort of in the middle.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. Yeah.
She's in denial about it being a novel. It's a novel.
Okay.
Gordon knows.
It's a subplot.
Okay, the thing will be out on June 13th. After that, we probably will work on a secret project for a little bit.
Yeah.
Going past that, there may be another Kate novella. This time it will be a novella.
Can we just say story?
Story.
A story.
Give up. Okay. Kate's story. And then we'll see what happens after that. We try not to tell you guys, kind of reader guys, in advance what we're working on, because we sometimes hit creative delays, things don't work out, and people get really, really disappointed. So we're trying to do that thing to where, like, when we announce it, it's either about to be done or it's done, and we're confident that we can meet our publishing date. You know what I mean? Like the first draft is basically either written or it's like about to be finished.
Yeah, because otherwise we kind of promised you guys something and didn't deliver. And
Yeah,
that's
and
not-
it's like
that's not cool.
that's not where we want to be. Yeah, so that's where we are.
I get
No
that.
more novels. Oh my
Well,
god.
the more you write, the more we'll read, of course. I do want to say that Ilona and Gordon and I are having another program on June 21st with Nalini Singh. And so
Yeah, we haven't seen her in ages. I'm
Ages,
so
years.
excited. Yeah, years
Last
now.
time I saw her was at a
Yeah,
con.
the
convention.
stupid pandemic has kind of,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
used to go all together, everybody like present. We used
We
to
used to
go
all
to
see each
conventions
other,
and we'd see
yeah.
each other at least once a year,
And
you know,
catch up.
and eat and catch up and have drinkies and all the stuff. And yeah, no. Hasn't happened in like what, 5 years now?
It's been a while. I mean, it's been a while. Because
Yeah.
Matt was saying to me, how long since you've seen them? And I was trying to rewind and think it. It's been a long time.
We stayed with you in Florida that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that-
So, oh, you're right. So that's probably what it was before the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
We
before
were
the pandemic.
we were looking for kind of a house and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
it didn't work out.
So that was back in Jacksonville. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was, I think, the last time we saw each other. in
Yeah.
person. I need to get over to Maryland.
I hope that we will see you in Maryland because now that the children are grown, theoretically, I would like to resettle in that mid-Atlantic.
Area,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I highly recommend. Maryland is lovely. I 4 seasons, not all hot all the time.
And she posted this lovely picture of like, okay, it's a city street and it's lined with like flower petals, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
flowers, what is that? It's like, it doesn't look like a cactus.
Funny. Well, I don't have a link yet for Nalini's and Ilona's program because that's the registration is going to open May 21st for the people that are asking, but I will send that out at some point. For you looking for a romance con, we are actually having one at the library in Ashland, Massachusetts on May 20th with 12 amazing authors. Loretta Chase and Kristen Higgins and
Oh
Sandra
my God,
Pitt
Loretta
and
Chase is so amazing. I cannot unfortunately be in the same room with her because I end up like losing my power of speech. The last time we met at the convention, she addressed me and I was like, that's what came out. That's it. And I thought I was the biggest idiot ever. But yeah, she's amazing. Her books are amazing. Oh my gosh. Her entire body of work is just so
She's a legend.
spectacular. She's truly a romance legend. You are so fortunate to host her. Yay.
I am very, very fortunate, but I'll put the link for that into the recap email I send out to everybody with the video link and everything. But thank you so much, Jeaniene, Ilona, Gordon, for doing this. This has been super fun, as you can tell, like all the reactions and everything. And I just learned so much every time I talk to you. Just amazing. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you so much for having us again. And thank you everyone for coming out.
Right. And you can buy signed books from our authors from Aesop's Fables.
Aesop's.
So I'll send a link for that too, because Jeanine's book is just out. Ilona's book's just came out. Gotta get it. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.